You opened ChatGPT, typed something like "help me with my marketing," and got back a gray wall of text that was technically fine and completely useless, so you closed the tab. Somewhere in the back of your head you decided you just don't get this AI thing, while everyone else clearly does. Here's the part nobody tells you. That wasn't you failing. That's the trap almost every how to use AI tools video walks you into, because it hands you a pile of apps instead of one good way to use them. So let me tell you what's actually going on, because it's the opposite of what the tool tours sell you. You don't have a tool problem, you have a finishing problem. In a 2024 Microsoft and LinkedIn Work Trend Index report, about 75% of people already said they use AI at work. So if it feels like everyone's doing it, roughly, they are. But using it and finishing something real with it are two completely different skills. That same report found nearly 80% of those people had dragged their own AI into work on their own, with no system around it at all. So the average person isn't short on tools. They're quietly drowning in them. Picture your own browser right now. How many half-open AI tabs are sitting up there? The ones you swore you'd really try back in spring? That's the first trap, and it has a name: tool switching paralysis. You keep sampling the next shiny app instead of finishing anything inside the one you already have. The second trap is quieter and meaner. You open a tool, the cursor blinks, your mind goes blank, and you freeze because nobody ever told you what to actually type into the thing. Call that one blank prompt paralysis. Both of those traps come from collecting, not from missing some feature, and here's the uncomfortable part. More tools makes both of them worse, not better. There's hard data on that too. A 2026 Boston Consulting Group study found people using 3 or fewer AI tools got more productive, and once they crossed into 4 or more, their productivity actually dropped. The same study had a blunt name for what all that juggling does to a person: AI brain fry. More tabs, more logins, more half-learned apps, and somehow less genuinely done. So here is the reframe this whole video runs on. The tool is a pen. The workflow is the thing you write with it. Pens are interchangeable and forgettable. What you keep is the repeatable way you get one job to the finish line. And if some part of you feels behind for not knowing the newest model, sit with one more number first. That same Work Trend Index found 46% of AI users had only started in the previous 6 months. Nearly half the room walked in the same door you did. You're not late to this. You're standing right in the middle of the curve. You were handed apps where you needed a method, so let's go build you the method. Pick the one task. Before you touch a single tool, you pick the task, not the app, the task. And not just any task, but one specific kind, and 3 quick questions will find it for you. Question 1. Is it something you already do every single week? Recurring is the entire point, because the payoff isn't doing it once, it's never dreading it again on Monday. Think of your weekly client update, the meeting notes nobody reads, the same handful of emails you rewrite from scratch every week. A one-off task teaches you nothing you'll reuse, so a one-off task is the wrong place to start. Question 2. Is it mostly words in, words out? Today's AI is strongest where the input is text and the output is text. So summarizing, drafting, reformatting, and rewriting are the easy early wins. If the task in your head is redesign my whole website, that's too big and too visual to be your first rep. If it's turn these 6 messy bullet points into a clear client email, that is exactly the right size. Question 3. Would you actually know good enough if you saw it? You want a task where a single glance tells you whether the result is usable or not. That instant gut check is your green light. Because if you can't judge the output, you can't trust it. Here's the quick contrast. Write my company's entire content strategy for next year. Fails all 3 questions, and you'd never be able to tell if the answer was any good. Summarize this 8-page report into 5 bullet points for my boss, passes all 3. And you'd know in 10 seconds whether it worked. The smaller, more boring task wins every time when you're starting out. Pick the one that answers yes to all 3. Write it down somewhere you can see it. That single task is the entire rest of this video, and we're about to run it through one loop, start to finish. The loop. Here's the loop itself. 5 moves, and the tool barely matters. Whether you're sitting in ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini. Move 1, is frame. Before you type a single word, answer one question for yourself. What am I actually asking it to do? Most people type 3 vague words and quietly hope for magic. Watch what changes the moment you hand it a real brief instead. Not "help me with my marketing," but something like write a 120-word email to a client who missed a deadline, warm but firm, asking for a new date by Friday. That's a single sentence, and yet it's a brief, not a wish. Vague in, vague out. So the real fix starts before you ever press enter. Move 2 is draft, and this is the exact spot where most beginners quietly give up. You send your brief, and the first thing back is usually a little flat. That isn't the tool failing you. That's the tool behaving exactly as it's built to. Anthropic's own prompting guidance says to treat the model like a brilliant but very literal new hire on their first day. Think about what that new hire actually is. They're sharp, they're fast, and they will do precisely what you say, which is the problem when you were vague. They have zero context about your client, your tone, or your history until you hand it over. So the flat first draft isn't a verdict on the tool. It's just day one, before you've coached anybody. Your first draft is that new hire's first hour. Nobody's first hour is their best work. Move 3 is iterate, and in my view, this is the move that separates people who use AI from people who merely open it. You don't scrap your prompt and start over from zero. You correct one specific thing at a time, the way you'd coach a person. Too stiff, make it warmer. Cut it down to 90 words. Add one line, admitting the delay was on our side. Picture the difference on screen. The first draft opens with, "I am writing to inform you regarding the status of the outstanding deliverable." After 2 corrections, it opens with, "Hi Sam, quick note on the report," and an apology for the delay on our end. Same tool, same 60 seconds of work, completely different result. You didn't need a better app for that. You needed 2 or 3 honest passes, and the gray wall quietly turns into something you'd actually send. The conversation is the tool, not that first stiff reply. Move 4 is judge. Good enough isn't a vague feeling here. It has a definition, and you're the one who sets it. Run the result past 3 fast questions. Is it accurate? Does it sound like me? Would I be fine if my boss read it over my shoulder? 3 yeses, and you stop. You're not chasing perfect, you're clearing a bar you set on purpose. Move 5 is finish. You take the thing, you actually use it, and you close the tab. What just happened is small and easy to miss, so notice it. 10 minutes ago, you had a blank box, and now you have a finished email, a real draft, a usable summary, a thing instead of another tab you'll feel guilty about. That is the entire loop. Frame, draft, iterate, judge, finish. Make it stick. Now the part that decides whether any of this survives past the first week. Think back to every AI tool you got excited about and quietly stopped opening 14 days later. That graveyard is real, and it was never a discipline problem. It's simply what happens when the tool itself was the goal instead of the task. So you do one more thing the instant the loop works. You save it. Most tools let you keep a prompt, a project folder, or a saved instruction somewhere. Drop your finished brief in there with a plain label, something like weekly client email. So next Monday, you're not staring at a blank box at all. You're starting from last week's loop instead. You tweak the details, you run the same 5 moves, and you're done in a fraction of the time it took the first round. That right there is the whole difference between using AI once and owning a workflow. One is a party trick you forget by Friday. The other is a tiny machine you built that keeps paying you back. And the payoff tends to compound slowly and quietly. In a 2025 think tank analysis, about 20% of people who used AI weekly said it saved them 4 hours a week or more, and roughly 33% of daily users said the same. Now hold on, the average is lower than those numbers, and it swings a lot from one person to the next, so treat it as a direction and not a promise. A 2025 St. Louis Fed analysis put the more typical figure closer to 2 hours a week. That's still real time, but notice the pattern underneath it. The people getting hours back aren't the ones with the most apps. It isn't the person sampling 10 brand new tools every single month. It's the person quietly repeating one saved loop until it runs almost on its own. Boring beats novel. The repeated task is where the hours actually hide. The ignore filter, which brings us to everything you are deliberately not going to do. The second this starts working, the old itch comes roaring back, whispering at you to go collect more tools. Resist it. A 2026 AI release tracker logs more than 300 model launches, with a fresh one landing almost every month. You will never finish that list, and you were honestly never meant to. So here's your filter, and it's a single question. When the next big launch lights up your feed, ask one thing. Does this change a task I actually repeat? Not, is it impressive? Not, is everyone posting about it? Does it move something you genuinely do every week? Say a shiny new image generator trends for 48 hours straight. If you make graphics weekly, fine, drop it into your loop and see if it earns a place. If you don't, you smile and scroll on, and you've lost exactly nothing. Because remember that BCG finding, we're past 3 tools, more simply stopped being more. The useful signal is the launch that touches a task you already own. Everything else is just noise that happens to be very good at sounding urgent. If you ask me, ignoring most of it on purpose is the most underrated AI skill going right now, and I'll say the quiet part out loud. Choosing to ignore most of it isn't falling behind. It's the skill almost nobody teaches you, because there's no affiliate link in telling people to buy less. The folks who seem calm about all this aren't secretly using more AI than you are. They're using less of it on purpose and finishing far more with it. So let's carry it all the way back to that blank box from the very start. The gap between you a week ago and you tonight isn't a newer, smarter app. It's that now you know what to type, why the first answer comes out rough, and exactly when to stop. Truth is, you were never really behind. You were handed 50,000 tools and not one method. So tonight, do exactly one thing and only one. Pick your single weekly task, the boring, recurring one you'd love to stop dreading. Open whatever AI tool you already have sitting in a tab right now. Then walk it through the 5 moves once: frame, draft, iterate, judge, finish. Not 10 tools. One task carried all the way to done. That's how you genuinely start using AI, by finishing something with it instead of forever collecting more of it. Here's the honest version. Far simpler than the hype makes it sound. You don't need to catch up. You need to finish one thing. And I'm honestly curious which task you'll pick first. The one job you'd hand straight to a sharp, literal new hire if they walked up to your desk tomorrow morning.